The author and poet I chose to do my study over is Naomi Nye, who is a children's author as well as a poet. She writes poems for people of all ages, and she really focuses on the content of her poems rather than the age group that they fit into. And many of her children's books are popular, they are fictional, and she has based most of her work off of the travel that she has done and the experiences that she's had in life. She has traveled all over the world. She's lived in St. Louis, San Antonio, and she even lived in Jerusalem for a while. Her mother is American and her father is Palestinian, so that made for a very diverse childhood, which I think benefited her extreme amount because much of her content is relatable and she focuses on ordinary subjects, but she changes them into awesome creations. And she has received many achievements, such as a Guggenheim Fellowship, an award from the Academy of American Poets. She has received a Pushcart Prize 4 times, and she is just an awesome writer as well as a poet. I love her poems. They are extremely relatable, and I think they can appeal to many children as well as adults. I will read you one of them. It is called Famous, which ironically is her best known poem and the one that has received the most attention. It says, "The river is famous to the fish, the loud voice is famous to silence, which knew it would inherit the earth before anybody said so. The cat sleeping on the fence is famous to the birds, watching him from the birdhouse. The tear is famous, briefly to the cheek. The idea you carry close to your bosom is famous to your bosom. The boot is famous to the earth, more famous than the dress shoe, which is famous only to floors. The bent photograph is famous to the one who carries it, and not all famous to the one who is pictured. I want to be famous to shuffling men who smile while crossing streets, sticky children in grocery lines, famous as the one who smiled back. I want to be famous in the way a pulley is famous, or a buttonhole, not because it did anything spectacular, but because it never forgot what it could do." I just love that poem, and I think it is just super awesome. She took ordinary, everyday things that we see, such as the birds and the children at the grocery store, and she applies real life situations to them and creates something amazing that a lot of people can relate to and wish they could also experience. And I think it encourages all of us to be greater than we are and go out of our way to do things that we do and notice things that we wouldn't normally. The next poem that I'm going to read is called To One Now Grown. And it's essentially toward a parent writing to their child and just thinking about what they could have done differently, but just remembering how it was. It says, "If we could start over, I would let you get dirtier. Place your face in the food, it's okay. In trade for great metaphors, the ones you used to spout every minute, I'd extend your bedtime, be more patient with tantrums. Never answer urgency with urgency. Try to stay serene. In one scene you are screaming, and I stop the car. What do we do next? I can't remember. It's buried in the drawer of small socks. Give me the box of time, let's make it bigger. It's all yours." So essentially they're just saying and remembering the time they had with their child and wishing it was longer and they would have appreciated it more. I just think a lot of people should hear more about her work and the great things that she's written about. And I think it would help a lot of people and could help a lot of people when they feel alone, if they read one of her poems, or just about any situation in life, if they read something that she has written or one of her works, they could find something that they could resonate with and maybe help them understand the situation a little bit more and see it from a different point of view. So, in conclusion, Naomi is a strong and bold author and poet, and I think she has went above and beyond to create work that many people, we don't hear that often anymore, like about great things or even simple things such as remembering the time they had with their children. She has earned many achievements that have led her to fame and earn many prizes. And I think the amount of achievements that she has had in her career just shows how great of an author and poet she is. For my activity that I chose to relate to her and her work, I decided that, and this would be more for younger students, such as kindergarten through second grade, working on sentences and just being introduced to words, organizing them in the correct way. So in the classroom, we would read one of her works, such as a poem, or it could even be a book, and choose a dramatic part in the book and take that, write each word onto its own piece of paper and shuffle it up, put it in a box, and depending on how many students there were, that would determine the number of sentences you did. So let's say there was a group of 4 students and there were 4 groups. So each group would have a worksheet. It would just be like a plain worksheet with lines on it, and they would go around the room, and in each area there would be a box that would contain the sentences, and on each piece of paper there would be 1. So each piece of paper that had the number 1 would be the first sentence, and then the second sentence would have the number 2, and the students would have to try and reorganize those to make a sentence that made sense and that we had read about. And hopefully reading it beforehand, they would be able to put it together as well as see the words coming into a sentence, and hopefully get better introduced to creating sentences as well as being able to learn about our author and the work that she had created, which would gather what they were learning in class to the author that we were working on. Thank you.